Inside each one of us sits an indestructible soul. Our soul holds all truth and was placed there by our Creator, by design and with intention. The hardwired truth is that we are loved unconditionally and created for a unique purpose. We also have an enemy who works relentlessly to blind us from knowing the truth. He does not want us to discover what lies hidden inside. IDKY is produced with the goal of revealing fascinating humans who represent an illuminated presence. The hope is that as we, the audience, open our minds and hearts to the witness of authentic people, our own lives will be enriched. Keeping a curious consciousness of I don't know yet is like opening the door that will increase acceptance and love and bring forth healthier relationships to greater unity. Hey everybody, my name is Lisa Schulteis, and we are beginning a new podcast called IDKY, I Don't Know Yet, and I'm going to tell you a little bit briefly about how we got here to this point. I wrote a book that came out in June. It's called The Path to Your True Self, and after that I decided I really don't want to write anymore if I don't have to, because it's really cumbersome and lonely and quiet, and so I decided to move into the podcast scene. Really deep down, I'm wired to be around people. I'm wired to be in relationships. I have such a curious mind and storytelling. I create a lot of stories in my mind. Sitting at the airport, it's the way I kill time. I just create stories about the people around me. But even as a kid, when I would go to dinner with my family, my dad, I'd get out to the car, he'd be in the car way ahead of me, and he'd go, "Lisa, you running for mayor again? Did you get any votes?" Because usually I'd hang around the restaurant and talk to a few people. So sometimes he might be a little cranky about that, but most of the time it was he was just giving me a hard time. Another thing I remember that confirms that relationships are kind of my vibe is when I was a kid, my grandfather raised Shetland ponies, and I was able to show ponies in 4-H. I just did the halter classes. I didn't ride, but it was quite a great experience. And so the Monday morning, we would take our horses to the 4-H fair, and we would bring our cots and everything with us, and we would spend the entire week there. And it was all different ages, boys, girls, it didn't matter. But I had a blast just staying around the animals and in the barn, and just enjoyed it. So on Friday, when we would go take our horses home, put them away, get everything cleaned up, it was kind of a sad day for me, but we would have a dance that evening or a party for all the 4-Hers, and we'd all get back together, and I just couldn't wait to get back together. So looking back at those times and those seasons, I realized that I have always been extroverted. I have an addiction to being around people. Sometimes it gets me in trouble if I stay too long, but it's kind of how I'm hardwired. A couple years ago, my husband and I decided we were going to buy a getaway place for the weekends. A lot of people might have a lake house or something like that, and we chose to buy a cabin down here in beautiful Brown County, Indiana. That's where I did a lot of my writing. And so while I was doing my writing, it was very quiet and lonely and isolated. I had to really focus. So I would come to town. And this was in January and February, where there weren't a lot of tourists. And I just came to this beautiful town of Nashville, in Indiana, little Nashville, more of a pioneer artistic community. And I would just come in and talk to really anybody that would talk to me. So I would meet the business owners. I would meet any visitors that were willing to talk, and I had some really great conversations. And during that time, I noticed that there was a man walking around, and he was dressed as a pirate. And of course, my creative storytelling mind created a lot of stories around that. And I would ask questions, who is he? Oh, that's William. He's lived here his whole life, went to school here. And I was like, oh, I really would like to meet him. And one day I saw him walking through town, and he was smoking a cigarette, and he had a big, beautiful black cloak on him, and it was winter, and boy, I just got invigorated. I was like, I have got to meet that guy. So a month or two later, I go into the Daily Grind coffee shop, and he's sitting there. And I was like, oh boy. And you know, it's really hard for me to like stop something that's in motion. I put my books down right next to the booth that he was sitting in. He was sitting in, minding his own business. He had headphones on and he was sketching. I believe he might have been sketching outfits, like, I don't know, you may correct me on that, but he was sketching, and I was like, wow, and he was really focused in it. So I felt really bad, but when I had to go do what I had to do. But I went and got my coffee, I sat down there as long as I could keep myself under control, and then finally I just interrupted his piece. And I said, excuse me, do you mind if I interrupt your what you're doing? And he was so kind. He gently took off his headphones and he looked at me with a very heartwarming look, like, I'm glad for the interruption, which was surprising to me, but it also told me that it was he was going to be welcoming in a fun way. So broke the ice that way. And so I would like to introduce to you William Wishbone. He is the pirate in Nashville, Indiana. If any of you have visited, you may have seen him. But today we're going to get to know a little bit more about what's underneath what we see from the outside. So, William, I would like to ask you, do you remember the first time that we met?
I mean, we've met a few times.
We have.
And I meet so many people
I
on a
know.
given basis. It's hard to keep names and faces straight as it is. Like, I recall that it was cold.
Okay.
And I think you're right. I think I was doing some kind of like outfit sketch.
Yes.
Just preliminary little
yes.
shadow sketch, but yeah.
I'm not surprised by that answer because I did feel like a lot of people would probably approach you. Do you have any good or bad stories that you would like to share about people like me interrupting your piece?
I mean, it's always funny to see what people, like, their basis of like remark or interaction, because you know, generally when they're coming to break the ice, they have some basis. Like, it's so many people from like St. Augustine, Florida, and around like the Chesapeake Bay area, and like areas that have a lot of pirate history somehow end up here, and so like they end up telling me about their hometown, where they come from, and a lot of the history involved there. And like, you know, because the irony is not lost on me that I'm completely landlocked on 4 sides. There's no salt water for a good long distance.
Do you know of any generational history?
I come from a long line of just different people. My mom's father and my mom's brother, they were both in the Navy. My grandfather, I think he was more in like administrative position, and my great uncle, he flew planes. So like seafaring, I don't know that there's necessarily any great history there, but I mean, you go far back enough in your bloodline, you can find all sorts of miscreants and ne'er-do-wells, and I don't know. I have quite a colorful history as far as my ancestry goes.
Have you looked into it?
My mom is really into the ancestry,
okay.
And so like, you know, every time she digs a little bit deeper, she comes back with a new chapter of family history, some distant cousin like 4 or 5 generations away, and
okay.
you know, they got into this land scuffle and killed their brother or something crazy. So yeah.
Okay, digging up stories, huh?
Stories and skeletons.
Yeah, very good. Very good.
When
people do come to town,
mm-hmm.
would you like for them to come generate a conversation with you, or would you prefer to be left alone?
You know, if it's an engaging conversation, if I feel like I'm not just a prop for their day, mm-hmm. they have something that they feel they want to share with me, or if they have genuine curiosity about why I present myself the way that I do, I don't mind sharing those things with people. But I don't know, sometimes the blatant, one-sided, flat commentary, it's quite unoriginal at times. And yeah, there are moments where it's like, I'm sure you could have just kept that thought planted firmly in your head, and it would have upset no one's day for you to say less. But I enjoy being able to, like you, talk with people, exchange stories and life experiences and perspectives. I mean, that's what it's all about. And I think that's one of the reasons that I agreed to do this, is because I think that we, as like a culture, a civilization, and even as a species, we are losing touch with what makes us human. And the most sublime fiber of that fabric is the interrelation. It's neither you nor is it me. It's the in-between where the conversation happens, the coffee table, as it were. And yeah, so if people want to approach me and have a conversation with me as like a real person, because I am one of those too,
Yes.
apparently, allegedly, supposedly.
Do you mind telling me about the bells? So today is the first time that I've met
yeah.
you. You had a bell, and I was like, oh, I don't know. I hadn't noticed that before.
Yeah.
What is the bell mean?
I wear a guardian bell on my boot. So again, this goes back to like my family history, my roots. There was a tradition in my family between my mom's mom, her brother, my Uncle Buzz, and then my mom. Like every year around New Year's, we would trade. We would have this big, it was like a big leather belt or harness for like a horse, and it was covered in sleigh bells. It had like the big like pearl necklace taper, so the little tiny ones way up top, and the big bulbous bell down at the bottom. And every year it would like change rotation who got to keep the bells for the year. And you know, as life happens for any of us who are fortunate enough to live long enough, people pass away and traditions fall out of rotation. And when my Aunt Sam had passed away, everything that was in their house, part of their estate, went up for auction, and they were in possession of the sleigh bells at that time. And I went to the auctions to get a few like key family bits of memorabilia, and I was really there for those sleigh bells. Like if nothing else, like that was the mission.
Yeah.
And somebody else outbid me, and so it was, you know, just for the sake of sentimentality, it was quite a rough thing. But part of the fun of being an adult, I find, is you get to play Santa Claus for yourself. You get to create your own traditions. Mm-hmm. And so I wear a bell on my boot just as a reminder of, you know, those who came before me, and that I'm not alone wherever I go.